Hey there, everybody, and welcome to our first Q&A and our first video on YouTube. Something new that we're trying from our usual Instagram program. So if you like it and you want more longer form content, subscribe and we'll kind of take that you're interested and we'll do more long form content. But for now, we appreciate everybody who submitted questions and we're going to get you some answers.
Okay, so we're just going to jump right into the questions. The first question is, are you from Vermont or did you move there for the motel? So we are not from Vermont. We are from Western New York. We spent a lot of time in Vermont. We both went to college in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, and spent a lot of time coming over to Vermont to bike and ski and hike. So we've been to the area. We love the area, which is why we chose the area to look for motels in the greater Killington area.
And I guess just to bolt on, like there were a lot of other questions of like, do we live at the motel full time now? And the answer to that question too is yes. We are in an owner's apartment that's attached to literally the motel is right over there and attached to it. So we're living full time in Vermont at the motel.
Next question is, how did you get into property management? Did you know family, friends, or have other resources?
So the answer is family, friends, or resources. Not really. So our background is like we just had normal careers. I was in like corporate sales and marketing. Casey was a teacher. Instead of buying a house, we bought a duplex and we started renting that out and living in one side. We liked saving money on rent and we liked fixing the properties up. So we just kind of self-taught ourselves through YouTube videos, and every year or so would kind of jump into a new property. We really liked kind of the real estate and the fixing stuff up. We hated being landlords, so we started trying Airbnb. Airbnb is really where we learned to enjoy hospitality, and it was just a good fit for us and our skill sets, and I could kind of focus on the operations and the renovation, and Casey could focus on more like the guest experience and the design and all of that. And then we knew we wanted to do more of it, so that's when we started pursuing these larger motel deals. So no real family, no real friends, just kind of something we've stumbled our way into.
You said no real family. No family influence.
No family influence.
No real...
We do have family, but not that are in this. So the next question, again, going to kind of combine two of them together. We got quite a bit is, did we look at other markets, and ultimately why did we pick or what made us like Killington? So for us coming into this, we knew that we wanted a motel in a ski town in the Northeast, specifically in New York or Vermont, that also had mountain biking in the summer. So we could rent out for like all the seasons, not just the winter, and then have to be like a ghost town in the summer. And obviously, well, at least like to us, we kind of had to cast a wide net, because in a lot of these ski and bike towns, like not only did that narrow it down quite a bit, but also like they're not all for sale. And actually, like doubling down on that, most of these places are not for sale, and they get either passed down to family, or a lot of owners are like living and enjoying them, their lifestyle properties for us. So we had to cast kind of a wide net. So there were a few different towns that we were looking at, again, in New York and Vermont, that had what we were meeting, but ultimately like super stoked to have landed in Killington.
Yeah, and I think what attracted us to Killington was, of course, all the points that Brett just mentioned, like the access to the mountains right up the road where we can both ski and mountain bike. We're also very involved in that community too. So to be a part of a community that's based around the mountain was really appealing to us. Also, I think just the close-knit community of the local people that live here is really supportive, and that too was really attractive to the local area. We're close to all the bars and restaurants, and everybody's really supportive. So it's a really positive part of our transition here. The next question is, what was the most challenging part for you so far?
So honestly, the money. If it hasn't come across already, we are very young. We are in our mid-20s and we are not wealthy people. So this has been a very big project for us to take on. And, you know, we've had bank loans that we've gone out and gotten. We had investors that came in on the deal with us as well. But for the most part, it's kind of been on us to make sure that this whole thing gets glued together and basically put in everything we have into this. And naturally, as we've gone through the renovation, like we ran into issues and we had surprises with things that have gone over budget in areas like electrical and plumbing, and we had to figure out how to cover a lot of that. So like honestly, that's been the most challenging piece, is just trying to keep everything on budget. Obviously, that's where you saw us get really heavily involved in the renovation, is we like honestly just didn't have any choice. Like that was the only way that we could kind of keep things on track to get it done. So while we really enjoyed the renovation, it obviously fueled us with a lot of content that we could share with you all. That was really the most stressful time, is just, pulling 12, 13-hour days out working in the motel rooms, then having to come in and balance the books and make sure that we're allocating money to the right areas. And it's still a challenge right now as we're getting up and growing like any business. So that's really it.
Yeah, and one of the other questions to kind of follow up with that was, like, how did you deal with that with your relationship? Like, did you come across any disagreements? And I think the toughest part with that was, as many of you know, I was still transitioning from my full-time teaching job back in New York, and Brett was here for majority of the time during the weeks, running the day-to-day, and also tacking on all of that renovation work to keep us within budget. So I think for us, the biggest part was just communicating every second of the day, all the time, making sure that we're on the same page and that we're supporting each other. I don't think that we necessarily ever came to disagreements. I don't think it was necessarily hard on us between each other. I think it was just hard on us to keep each other uplifted and supported and moving forward when we're both feeling like it was so much at one time. But I would say that was probably one of the hardest parts of
sure.
If we were both here, it'd be easier to split the work. But that kind of just added another level of complexity to our situation that ultimately we came out in the end, perfectly fine. And we're here and we're open. So it's all good. With that, one of the other questions that I've got was, am I still going to teach in the area? For right now, I am going to help Brett and focus on the motel. This is really where we want to take the time to grow this place to the full potential that it has, and also just making sure that we are giving the guests that come to stay the 5-star experience that we really want to give. And we're putting 100% into just really being present on the property for people that come stay, and supporting them while they're here with whatever they may need. I am definitely not done with education forever. There are many opportunities in the local area, even some things that look a little bit different within education that really intrigue me. So whether that's an after-school program, a summer program, working with the mountain, different opportunities like that. So I'm definitely not done teaching forever. And something cool opportunity might pop up that will interest me, and I'll kind of take it, month to month or season by season. Oh, that's a good question.
For the next question that we'll do, what was the biggest adjustment from managing our Airbnbs to now managing a motel? There's a bunch of them. So the core business is the same, where you're providing a clean room with a nicely made bed that's a place for people to stay when they're visiting an area, and the hospitality and all that. But the biggest thing to adjust to, honestly, is this is way more of a business than Airbnb is. And I think Airbnb was it was very good for us to get the hospitality experience, but now it's just everything that we have to deal with the cleaner staffing aspect, and just more rooms that are turning at the same time, the taxes and the type of tax that we collect and have to remit, and all the reports and bookkeeping that come with that, the credit card processing, the actual getting the bookings and connecting with people and building out that's all stuff that Airbnb, as much as people like to knock them, they really tee up for you on a silver platter. But we've basically, and especially as we chose to kind of rebrand and restart everything from scratch, just to try to shed the old reputation of the motel and the process that they have that wasn't great, we had to build that all from nothing. So that was definitely the biggest jump, is just you just got to be prepared for that aspect of it.
I think too, Brett kind of explained this a little bit too, where we both kind of fell into our little niches. He does a lot more of the operation stuff, and I do a lot more of the side of pulling together design, and we both do that together. But I think one of the biggest differences that I saw too was when thinking about the design of our rooms here, there's a lot of aspects that are very homey and personalized to an Airbnb, that when you think about a motel or somewhere where you're doing really quick turnovers, or you have a lot more wear and tear on the room because there's just, you have one night stays, 2 nights. Yeah. So there's just certain design aspects where things that I kind of thought would be, oh, wow, let's make this a nice homey motel, and then realizing that's probably not
There's a
practical
practicality to it.
so really having that balance when we did the design, and then obviously being in our market, like really gearing it towards mountain bikers and skiers kind of gave us that niche naturally. But I think that design wise, that was a big difference in terms of just kind of switching that mentality a little bit from Airbnbs to hotel motels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you ever get bears at the property? If so, what do you do? Get very frustrated with them. So coming from like a place that didn't have bears and coming here, the first time I saw one was very nervous about it. And now after a few months, what we've come to the conclusion is black bears, which is what we have here in Vermont, are essentially just giant raccoons. The only thing that they want to do is eat your garbage. And pretty much every other night, like they're in our garbage and it's chained and it's locked, but you can see where they try to peel them together. So the only thing you do is you try to yell at them and scare them away, and you chain your garbage so it doesn't end up all over your driveway the next morning.
And then really what ends up happening is they leave, you tell them to get out of here, that you kind of just give them like a little, hey, and then they leave, and then they just go across the street to the restaurant.
And they go into the next garbage.
And they go to the next one. So they're very well fed bears here. They're not like territorial or anything. They don't really come near you. They really just, like Brett said, they really just want the trash. That's it.
Yep, that's bears.
So we just keep our trash locked up, and that's pretty much it.
Sure. So how did we actually find this property? This is one we've gotten quite a bit, and it's tricky. So we, again, kind of being the position we came from, we had to get a little creative. Typically properties are listed for sale. They're represented by a broker and an agent, and you go through that process. The problem that we ran into is we were young, we had never done this before, and we were pretty much broke in the grand scheme of things compared to a property like this. So
and experience too. Like we had done Airbnbs, but a lot of the brokers just didn't like.
They want somebody with deep pockets that's going to come in and maybe not pay cash, but they know for sure is going to get a loan. So we basically had to go like direct to owners, find properties we like, reach out to owners, network with owners, and eventually find people who are in a position where they want to sell. So that's how we found this property. Was just reaching out to the owner. They were ready to move on and do something different after owning it for about 12 or 14 years. And that's how we got here.
So the next question is, what's the demand for an owner? Do you ever get days off? Well, currently, the answer is no. Short answer, no. I think ultimately it depends on the way you kind of take it on. Not every single owner is going to be running it the way we are. It's the way we chose to do it. It's the way we wanted to do it. I think for us, we're both just hands-on people. We want to be here. We want to be greeting the guests. Also right now, it just benefits us not paying a manager. I think us acting as managers. We also, us being so new to this kind of this field, or this also us being new to this whole motel world, I think it gives us, like, getting deep into what goes on in day-to-day operation really gives us like different perspectives, different appreciations for the positions that eventually we are going to hire out. So when we started out doing all of the cleaning for the entirety of the first 5 months, it really gets you to think about those little nuances of how are you setting up the towels and the soap in the room? How much time goes into cleaning one room? I think being so deeply ingrained in the day-to-day operations for us as an owner is going to be really helpful for us long-term as we start to build and grow.
Yeah, because for us, I mean, the plan is this to now be a career thing for us to do. So to be able to get all that experience now, a lot of people advise you, you need to be working on your business, not in your business. Well, we're learning a lot about how to work on a business in the future. And we're already starting to put a lot of the systems in place to pull ourselves out of it a little bit more. We have help on the cleaning front now, which has been awesome. Again, a lot of our systems for booking have been automated, and reservation management. So there's a lot of these things that are taking off our plate. So, I mean, we're still here all the time and working and doing something 7 days a week, but it's been really nice getting to the point where like we can take off for a couple hours and go mountain bike. And this winter, we'll be able to ski more. And like, we went and got dinner last night and there were guests here and the show went on and everything was okay. But also just like recognizing, like, obviously getting into something like this, it's a lifestyle selection. Like you kind of get into this knowing it's going to be a very hands-on thing. So for us, it's like, we work every day, but like you don't, like we were talking about yesterday, like the Sunday scaries are not a thing anymore. Like where it's just like, oh, like I don't want to go to work tomorrow. It's just every day you have something that you're chipping away at. You know, Sundays we might have to clean for 4 hours just in between when our cleaner is available, but then we get to go bike for the afternoon, and we can do that like any day of the week. So again, I think we're through the bulk of our like the heavy phase of renovation. That was like weeks straight with nothing, but now we're kind of getting into a rhythm that I think is going to be pretty sustainable.
Yeah. And I think for right now, just the age that we're at, we're young, like we don't have a family yet. So I think like it's just integrated into our life naturally. Like this morning we sit out on the deck, we drink our coffee, and we're working, we're having a meeting, we're talking about what needs to happen. But it just feels so naturally integrated into our life. But I think also too, eventually working up to having boundaries and having a work-life balance will come with time. But
all right, so the last one here, and by far I think the one that got asked in here the most times, is what's next for us, and specifically along with that, are we going to be buying another property? We are not ready to retire. No. Like I think speaking for ourselves, but I think for a lot of other people out here that maybe have like started business or taking on projects like this, like it's very hard to go from like 0 to 100 and then back to 0 again. And we're just the kind of people, like, we like to run and gun and take on projects and like always have something to chip away at. And the reality is, like, as much as we love being here and we love this business, like we're just not really ready to like retire and settle down to like our bed and breakfast in Vermont. Like we'll have to always have something to work on. And so that's why this and you guys and a lot of this content has been really fun, because it always just gives us something to do, something to chip away at. But I think the reality is another property probably will be in our future at some point. We just don't know when. For at least now, the time being, you know, the big focus for us is making this property the best it can be. Again, like I kind of prefaced it before in the video, like this was a very large financial investment, not only for us personally and the money that we had to put in to make it happen, but also banks and investors who have also bet on us to make sure that this performs. So, you know, we kind of have that duty to make sure that things go on well here, that really, you know, and I guess coming into this, one of the reasons why we were willing to bet a lot of that money is being in our early 20s and without kids, like, we really didn't have anything to lose. Now we do. Like we have like this thing that we've now built up that's special and cool and can provide for us. So just making sure that it's nurtured before we go and take something else on, because it does take a lot of capital to go and do one of these deals. You know, coming into this one, just the inspections and the deposits and the due diligence was around a little over $40,000 that we had to put into it. And, you know, would probably be that or more to go and do another property. So it, you know, for us, it just takes a little bit of time to build that up. But, you know, the other side of it is we've had some really cool opportunities come our way, you know, both through the network that we've created online and around in town. We have some really cool properties that are in front of us. So we don't know what the timeline's going to be yet, but there likely will be something in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think just like Brett mentioned, just giving us time here to really like solidify a really good foundation. And we wanted, if we do next property, whenever that happens, we want to do it right. And we want to take the learnings that we have from here and apply it to the next property. So I think just giving us a full season, or if whatever that opportunity that feels right, just like this one did, whenever that comes up, we'll just kind of know when the time is right.
Cool. Well, I think at that, we're going to wrap it for this first one. So let us know if you like this style. Again, if YouTube is something that you're interested in and more of like the renovation and like the day-to-day content that we've done on Instagram, like you'd like more of it in YouTube format, subscribe to this page, and we're going to kind of take that as the indication that there's some interest there.
Yeah, and really, like, genuinely, you know, we wanted to say thank you to all of you, because I think even just thinking about, like, we're just coming off this renovation and just thinking about doing a whole nother property sounds like a daunting task, but having like all of the support that we've genuinely gotten, you know, the direct messages that we get, and it's just a quick little note like, oh, you know, love following your journey, like just that support and feeling backed by it really motivates us to keep going. So we appreciate it and thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.